Good morning this morning, and welcome to the NCAA is certainly not done with the University of Michigan edition of the OHIO podcast. Do us a big favor, everybody, smash that like button this morning if you haven't already. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We're at 52. We need 52 more to reach 4,000. And if you're not one of those people subscribed to the channel, help us reach that number and be one of those 52, please. Also, if at any point during this video you would like to make a comment, please do so down in the comments section below. Of course, the big news last night, everybody, was that the NCAA has come to an agreement with two former Michigan coaches who are now in the NFL with Jim Harbaugh out there on the West Coast. Of course, we're talking about both of these fellas, Jesse Mintor, who was the defensive coordinator, and Coach Stephen Clinkscale, who was with Michigan as well. Both have come to an agreement with the NCAA and have received show causes. Mintor got a 1-year show cause, and Clinkscale got a 2-year show cause from the NCAA. And of course, these are all stemming back from the quote unquote Burgergate incident with the NCAA that a lot of people feel is a nothing burger. Obviously, not a nothing burger to Jim Harbaugh and now Mintor and Clinkscale, who basically have accepted the fact that they have broken NCAA rules and have been banished from from coaching in the NCAA for a season, 2 seasons, and for Harbaugh 4 seasons. Mintor admitted multiple permissible early recruiting communications with a prospect prior to June 15th of his sophomore year of high school, and are impermissible. Sorry if I said permissible. He was aware that these communications were impermissible, but did not report the violations to the school's compliance department. Right off the bat, one has to wonder what other rules were broken that haven't been reported to the compliance department or to the NCAA. Clinkscale, on the other hand, he provided impermissible benefits to prospects and their families during the recruitment period and failed to fully satisfy his obligation to cooperate with the investigation when he did not provide complete information during an interview, though he eventually acknowledged the violations of his involvement in them and his involvement in them. So this isn't just a nothing burger, although Michigan fans have already seen them online trying to swing this and swing the narrative that this really doesn't mean anything. These are former coaches; they aren't there. The university isn't blamed for this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But these aren't just nothing burgers. This means that the NCAA is still going to hand down some form of punishment for things. And the fact that you failed to, I guess, notify the university of your wrongdoing and you personally receive punishment doesn't mean that the university is just going to be able to skate by freely here. Now, these are for, like I said, Burgergate, Cheeseburgergate, whatever you want to call it, right? I didn't even think that I thought that was over. I thought that was done. And the fact that the NCAA has doled out more punishment to these individuals from that just proves that they're not done by a long shot here, folks. And so it's really interesting to me to watch a fan base, the vocal ones at least, bury their head in the sand continually over and over and over again. Just speaking from my own perspective, if this was happening to Ohio State, I would be scared to death that we were going to be receiving a harsh punishment from the NCAA. And it's wild to me to watch people just just completely say it's going to be nothing. We're just making this stuff up. When time and time and time again, even yesterday, when it comes to Mintor and Clinkscale, the NCAA has proven that they're not going to let things just skate by. They're not going to let things just go without some form of punishment. Now, what all is that punishment going to be? I don't know. I don't work for the NCAA. But to just sit there and think it's going to be nothing, I think is really naive and is just a really odd way to go about looking at the situation yourself and the emotion from it, and you just look at the facts that have been provided and the steps that the NCAA seems to be taking with the university, it's obvious to me that there's going to be some form of punishment. Now, I've been on scale and saying I don't have much faith in the NCAA, but the NCAA is proving to me, even in instances like this, that they're just not going to let this thing go. They're going to continue to try to work towards some form of punishment or resolution of punishment with the university when it comes to everything that has been done there in the latter years of Jim Harbaugh's tenure. So that brings me to my next point, next thing I want to address with everybody, because this guy was back in the news again. And this one is even a little bit more upsetting to me than the Clinkscale and Mintor thing, because that's so far in the rearview mirror and so far in the past and has nothing to do with today or the players today or the university today and moving forward. But it's interesting to me to just see how the form of punishment they received for what they did then. And then you have Matt Weiss here, right? And the lawyers from the University of Michigan and its Board of Regents who are arguing against the lawsuit that has been filed by two women claiming that their data was hacked by former co-offensive coordinator Matt Weiss. This according to the Detroit News. Weiss has been accused of downloading personal information of thousands of student athletes. We all know this, primarily of which were female. The attorneys representing Michigan, Daniel Tuckle and Sheldon Klein, say the school has government immunity, which limits lawsuits against federal institutions under the 11th Amendment. They argue that there is no evidence that the data breach has not created ongoing or future harm for these women. That is a terrible argument. Again, if these were my lawyers and I'm a fan of the Ohio State and this had happened at Ohio State and this was what the lawyers were arguing, I would be upset that that's what they're arguing. Who are you to determine that there's not ongoing harm that has been done to these young ladies? Like that is just completely inept of any feeling or sorrow or apologetic feeling at all. It's just it's we're better than you, and you're not being harmed anymore. So well, this lawsuit, let's just throw it out. That's ridiculous. There is no claim that the plaintiffs have had banking, credit, or other similar issues during the more than 2 years that Weiss was discharged and the notification letter was received. How do you know? Okay, how do you know that? And by the way, yeah, you're bringing up like banking and credit issues and things like that. What about the emotional harm? Do you ever stop and think about that? Of course not. No, of course you didn't. Um, Parker Steiner, a lawyer for the women, argues that the immunity does not protect Michigan in an instance where none of its employees violates the privacy of thousands of student athletes. This is a quote. It is not a shield for institutions that knowingly empower or fail to supervise employees who violate the trust and privacy of thousands of current and former female student athletes. The university's attempt to sidestep accountability by hiding behind legal technicalities speaks volumes about its priorities, and none of them center student safety or justice. I think that is a fantastic quote and needs to be screamed from the rooftops in this instance. Now, I will credit a lot of Michigan fans and podcasters and people who I've communicated with who agree that this guy's a scumbag. 100%. There is no argument there. What is interesting to me is the argument that these lawyers are making on behalf of the University of Dum, who are basically saying that the university has no liability here. They have no accountability for this. This was a one man it's all his fault, and there's no responsibility that should be placed on the university. What's interesting to me is that seems to be the argument that the university and those who defend the university have made about everybody involved in every scandal that's happened up there. It's one rogue coach. It's this guy did it. You can't blame the university for what he did. Absolutely, you can. When you represent something bigger than yourself, you need to take responsibility for what that emblem that you're supposedly working for represents. It's something that I think this younger generation struggles with. It's something that it needs to be taught and needs to be applied in all situations. Um, and not just for the university that's in Ann Arbor, but what about your current employer? Who you work for, right? Um, Sometimes we forget that we represent more than just ourselves, and that when we do something wrong or we say something wrong, it not only affects us, but it affects other people who are involved. And that seems to be the case that here for the University of Michigan, that they continue to just fail to realize that there's so many people outside of the sphere in Ann Arbor that were affected by everything that they have done, both on the field and off the field, like in this case here. And it just boggles my mind that they continue to just bury their head in the sand and refuse to take any accountability for what is done here. I have pleaded with multiple people who cheer for the Maize and Blue that they should take this anger that they have towards Ohio State fans or the NCAA, and they should turn it on their university, and they should demand from their university accountability, that the university stand up and do what's right. There's been zero investigations, internal investigations done by the University of Michigan. Zero, none. They have not gone outside of the university and and hired some kind of firm to investigate the situation. They have continued to just deflect. They've continued to say it wasn't us, and we fired this person, we fired that person, we fired this guy. They moved on. They're no longer here, and there continues to be zero accountability from the university. And I think the NCAA has noticed that. If I worked for the NCAA, I would definitely have taken notice of that, and that would be a part of the decision, part of the motivation on the punishment that I would be handed down by the NCAA when it comes to everything that has gone on here, both on the field and off the field as well. And so as we inch closer, and I do say inch closer because it definitely feels like that's what we're doing here, is just inching closer to that day when the NCAA notifies the University of Michigan of what the punishment will be for the cheating scandal and others. I'm fascinated to find out what exactly that is going to be. On one side, you got people saying it's going to be the hammer, and whatever that hammer looks like, again, I don't know. On the other side, you've got University of Michigan fans saying it's a toy hammer. It's not going to be much. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It usually is with that. But the further along we get with this and the more things that are revealed and the more steps the NCAA takes, I feel like we're inching closer to this hammer actually going to be more of a hammer than a toy hammer. Um, but that's just the feelings I'm getting as I watch this. Again, I have no intel. I have zero people on the inside of the NCAA who are going to tell me this is what it's going to be. Because in all actuality, I really don't think anybody truly knows. However, I'll say this, and a lot of people they want to bash Buckeye Scoop for some reason, but the thing about it is Buckeye Scoop's been right more than they've been wrong on a lot of things. I'll give you two examples right off the bat that come to my mind when I think about this. And this is me just keeping score. I don't have a dog in the fight here, guys. Um, Number one, I remember them calling out that USC and UCLA were going to join the Big Ten at least 2 days before anybody else even reported that there was a rumor. And so hats off for them for calling that out way before anybody else. And then when it comes to Ohio State, they also were talking about Brian Hartline getting the offensive coordinator's position again before anybody else made any announcements. Now, there have been some who said those who were in the media and on the beat knew about it, but they were asked not to say anything. I don't know if that's true or not, but again, this is just somebody who's keeping score here. They announced it before anybody else did here. And so when you ask me who am I going to kind of listen to a little bit more about this, I'm going to listen to the ones who've been right more than they've been wrong. And on the counter of that, you've got the bought and paid for media from Ann Arbor who are basically just spewing out any narrative that the university tells them to spew out. There's nobody on that side of the aisle who has come out to say this is what's actually truly happening. They just repeat everything that the university wants them to repeat. The same university, mind you, that has these two lawyers arguing against these young ladies and their lawyers saying that they're fine, there's no more issues here, and that we should throw this lawsuit out simply with Matt Weiss simply because we're the 11th Amendment and we're immune to it. Take some accountability here, is all I'm asking, man. And at the end of the day, when this thing is done, I'm going to be so happy this thing is completely finished. It's be completely honest with you. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of waiting for the NCAA to move. They literally are at a snail's pace, it seems like. But when this thing eventually comes down, what do you think? Are we going to have a big hammer? Are we going to have a little hammer? Or is it going to be somewhere in between, and why? I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But this is the newest news on the soap opera known as the Michigan cheating scandal. That being said, let me share today's verse with all of you guys. I hope everybody has a great Tuesday. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. The Buckeye Lounge has their show tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, with former Buckeye Tim Anderson joining the program. I will be in the chat to make sure we keep things civil in the chat, unlike last night. And we will try to do better. How about that, everybody? We were going to try to do better on this program, keep things more positive and moving in the right direction here at the OHIO podcast. Until then, have a great day, everybody. You all know what to do. Be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH, St. Carmen IO, with all your heart. Till next time, OHIO, go Bucks.